Hello dear students. Today we will discuss about the concurrent, coupled and correlated processes. As we know that human body is a complex integration of a number of biological systems with several ongoing physiological, functional and possibly pathological processes. Most biological processes within a body are not independent of one another, rather, they are mutually correlated and bound together by physical or physiological control and communication phenomena. Analyzing any signal process without due attention to others are concurrent, coupled, or correlated with the process that may provide only the partial information, and it may pose difficulties in the comprehension of the process. So the investigator should explore the system or process of interest from all possible angles and use multidisciplinary approaches to identify several potential sources of information. The signal so obtained may be electrical, mechanical, biochemical, or physical among the many possibilities and may exhibit interrelationships confounded by peculiarities of transduction, time delays, multipath transmission or reflection, waveform distortions, and filtering effects that may need to be accounted for in their simultaneous analysis. Events or waves in signals of interest may be non-specific and difficult to identify and analyze. Now let's discuss some of the illustrations with the case studies. The first in that is the electrocardiogram and the phonocardiogram, that is ECG and PCG signals. A clinical ECG record typically includes 12 channels of sequentially or simultaneously recorded signals, and they can be used on its own to diagnose many cardiac diseases. The phonocardiogram, that is PCG, on the other hand, is a more complex signal. It is a plot of high fidelity recording of the sounds and murmurs made by the heart with the help of machine called the phonocardiograph. Thus, the phonocardiography is the recording of all the sounds made by the heart during a cardiac cycle. So PCG waveforms cannot be visually analyzed except for the identification of gross features such as the presence of murmurs, time delays, and envelopes of murmurs. An advantage with the PCG is that it may be listened to. Oscillation of heart sounds is more commonly performed than visual analysis of the PCG signal. However, objective analysis of the PCG requires the identification of components and subsequent analysis tailored to the nature of the components. Let's see this example. So in this, the problem is to identify the beginning, that is S1 you can see in this figure, in a PCG signal and extract the heart sound signal over one cardiac cycle. So the solution for this is that the ECG and PCG are the concurrent phenomena, with the noticeable difference that the former is electrical while the later is mechanical, that is sound or vibration. So it is customary to record the ECG with the PCG signal. The QRS wave, if you see in this ECG waveform, is directly related to ventricular contraction as the summation of the action potentials of ventricular muscle cells. So, as the ventricles contract, the tension in the chordae tendineae and the pressure of retrograde flow of blood toward the atria seal the AV valves, thereby causing the initial vibrations of S1. Thus, S1 begins immediately, you can see, after the QRS complex. Given the non-specific nature of vibration signals and the various possibilities in the transmission of heart sound to the recording site on the chest, detection of S1 on its own is a difficult problem. So the detection of QRS, as we know, is fairly easy, and also we have seen many methods to detect the QRS wave. So now, given that the QRS is the sharpest wave in the ECG over a cardiac cycle, in fact, the P and T waves may be almost negligible in many ECG records. Thus, the QRS complex in the ECG signal is a reliable indicator of the beginning of S1, and it may be used to segment a PCG record into individual cardiac cycles, that is, from the beginning of one QRS and thereby S1 to the beginning of next QRS and S1. This method may be applied visually or via signal processing techniques. Now let's see one another case study in this. So it is between the ECG and the atrial electrogram. Most studies on the ECG and the PCG pay attention to ventricular activity than to atrial activity, and even then more to left ventricular activity than to the right. Rhythm analysis is commonly performed using QRS complexes that already we have learnt in one lecture to obtain interbeat intervals, that is RR interval. So such analysis neglects the atrial activity. Recollect that the AV node introduces a delay between the atrial contraction initiated by the sinoatrial node and the consequent ventricular contraction. This delay plays a major role in the coordinated contraction of the atria and the ventricles. Certain pathological conditions may disrupt this coordination and even cause AV, that is atrioventricular deassociation. It then becomes necessary to study atrial activity independent of the ventricular activity and establish their association. Thus, the interval between the P wave and the QRS, that is commonly referred as PR interval, would be a valuable adjunct to the RR interval in rhythm analysis. Unfortunately, the atria, being relatively small chambers with weak contractile activity, cause a small and smooth P wave in the external ECG. Quite often, the P wave may not be recorded or seen in the external ECG. So the problem is to obtain an indicator of atrial contraction to measure the PR interval. So this can be solved, and one of the reasons for the lack of specificity of the P wave is the effect of transmission from the atria to the external recording sites. And the solution for this is to insert electrodes into one of the atria via a catheter and record the signal at the source. This would, of course, constitute an invasive procedure. Jenkins et al. Proposed a unique and very interesting procedure to obtain a strong and clear signal of atrial activity. They developed a pill electrode that could be swallowed and lowered through the esophagus to a position close to the left atrium. The gain required to obtain a good atrial signal was 2 to 5 times that used in ECG amplifiers. With a 5 to 100 Hz bandpass filter, the SNR of 10 decibels is obtained. So here you can see the figure which shows the recordings from a normal subject of the atrial electrogram, that is a lower tracing from the pill electrode, and external ECG lead from the you can see in the upper tracing. So atrial contraction is clearly indicated by a sharp spike in the atrial electrogram. Measurement of the PR interval now becomes an easy task, with identification of the spike in the atrial electrogram being easier than identification of the QRS in the ECG signal. Now just look at another figure which shows the atrial electrogram and external ECG of a subject with ectopic beats. The PVCs have no immediately residing atrial activity. The first PVC has blocked the conduction of the atrial activity occurring immediately after, resulting in a compensatory pause before the following normal beat. The second PVC has not blocked the subsequent atrial wave but has caused a longer than normal AV delay and an aberrant conduction path, which explains the different wave shape of the consequent beat. The third PVC has not affected the timing of the following sinoatrial node initiated pulse but has caused a change in wave shape in the resulting QRS T by altering the conduction path. So Jenkins et al. Developed a 4-digit code for each beat, as in this figure. The first digit was coded as 0, which shows that it is an abnormal wave shape. Then 1, which shows that it is a normal wave shape. So this can be determined by a correlation coefficient computed between the beat being processed and a normal template. The remaining 3 digits encoded the nature of RR, PR or AR, and AA intervals respectively. As 0 determines the short, 1 determines the normal, or 2 determines the long. The absence of preceding A wave related to the beat being analyzed was indicated by the code X, as you can see in the fourth digit. You can see here X, here is X, here is X. So that is the fourth digit in which the AR interval is longer than the RR interval. So figure shows the code for each beat. Based upon the code for each beat, Jenkins et al. Were able to develop a computerized method to detect a wide variety of arrhythmia. Now we have another problem, that is cardiorespiratory interaction. The heart rate is affected by normal breathing due to the coupling and interaction that is existing between the cardiac and respiratory systems. Breathing also affects the transmission of heart sound from the cardiac chambers to the chest surface. Durant et al. Recorded intracardiac and chest surface PCG signals and derived the dynamic transfer function of the heart-thorax acoustic system in dogs. So analysis of the synchronization analysis and coupling within the cardiorespiratory system could require sophisticated analysis of several signals which are acquired simultaneously from the cardiac and respiratory systems. A few techniques for the analysis of heart rate variability that already we have discussed in the lecture, which is related to heart rate variability, time domain, as well as the frequency domain measures. So mainly here we are talking about the time domain measures that was based upon the RR interval data. So this is all in this lecture. So these were the some problems with case studies. For these topics, you can refer to the book by Rangaraj M. Rangayan, that is Biomedical Signal Analysis, a Case Study Approach. So for now,